Everybody, happy Monday. A lot of windshield time today, so let's get right on into a video. I have been paying attention to this data nationally, what I'm going to talk about, for several months. Really even the last year, because my opinion, especially here in East Tennessee, is I feel like our inventory, although we are up above what we were like pre-COVID, our inventory just seems like it's I don't know, it's just kind of off. It's like the feeling of inventory. It's like there are options, but there's not really a lot of great options for buyers. That's the better term, right? Is there's plenty of inventory, but there's not a lot of great inventory. Which is tough for buyers because obviously the Fed did not lower rates last week. I don't know nothing about rates. Doesn't make any sense. I've done too many videos on it, and I can't ever get it right. It's at this point, like, you won't convince me it's not political. There's just no way, right? Lower the rates, raise them back up if something screws up. But give it a chance. I mean, my gosh. So, some few of these real estate, like, I'll just say, like, more so like national social media influencers that I just kind of follow, and I really don't pay attention to a lot of what they say. A lot of it's honestly just fluff and crap and clickbait. They need the views, the likes, and how they get paid. And they say they're so successful agents. If you pull their stuff up, they're not near as successful. But they do actually have a lot of good data. And sometimes they will take that data and they'll spin it into whatever their talking point is, or, whatever they want to do. But I try to, like, listen to it very open-mindedly. Don't know if that's a word. And kind of take the bits and pieces and kind of put it together, and especially try to use it for East Tennessee market purposes to explain to you guys what's going on here in our area, and of course nationally. And one thing that's like a really high alert that I see that not many people are talking about, this is why the subject is, the line is what I put, is that I think the inventory is actually going to come down. I don't think a ton between now and the end of the year, which doesn't make sense because I've done videos, and I do believe this. There's less buyers tomorrow than there are today. Buyers are not replacing themselves. Buyers are not coming to the table. Interest rates aren't changing. They are at a 4-month low. I will say that. They're almost like mid-sixes, which is like a 4-month low I was reading, which that always helps. But the Fed, they don't meet for 45 more days. They're only going to meet a couple of times between now and the end of the year. What are they going to do? Well, it's obvious that, this person and our president, is politics. So, the thing that I think of why inventory is going to come down, it's not because buyers are going to buy. It's because sellers are going to take their homes off the market. Sellers are going to cancel their listings. So their listings are going to expire, and they're not going to relist with another agent. And it's happened to me, right? I've had people call me, their home expired, they want to list with me or list with me. I'm very transparent, like, hey, I don't have any sort of magic wand and being like, well, I'm going to all of a sudden, because you're using me, I'm going to sell your house. I wish I did. Now, I will say I work, I communicate, I'm 24/7. I can say that most other agents are not, and they don't work. If you see and knew and communicated with them how I did, you would be like, good gosh, what am I paying this person for? Because a lot of them are just lazy, and I end up doing like all the work for everything to close out a contract. But it is what it is, different rant for a different day. But what you're going to find is all these sellers, they're just tired of it, right? And I mentioned this a couple videos ago. I think right now, for sellers, they got to have the conversation with themselves. Are you trying to sell your home, or do you want to list your home? And I think that is the biggest difference between sellers right now is, of course, somebody's like, oh, I'm not going to take no crappy offer, blah, blah, blah. Well, all right, well, you better be prepared to pay some closing costs. I can go ahead and tell you, if you're not prepared to pay some closing costs, you better be prepared to do some updates, especially something if it needs to be updated, fixed, repaired in order for it to get a government loan on it, FHA, USDA, VA, you better be prepared to do that stuff. If you're not, you're just listing your home. You're not ready to sell your home. And that's a tough conversation to have with people, but I'd rather create these expectations, and if I'm usually wrong, that is most of the time in the benefit of my client, right? I've said, hey, I've comped your home at XYZ. You want to go higher? I'll list it for higher. It is what it is. Just don't be mad at me. And it sells for higher. And I'm like, see, I was wrong. Benefited you. But I don't want to be on the opposite side of that, as telling somebody their home is just worth way, way more, creating these expectations like it's going to sell in a day, and it not. I've always said that. That's not how you build relationships and get trust from everybody. But I think that is what you're going to see. I think you're going to see potential of inventory staying the same, going down, not because all of a sudden there's more buyers, more transactions going. That will not be the case, especially getting the holiday season. What you're going to see is sellers is taking the home off market. They've been unable to find the home. They've been unable to sell their home. They're not willing to take anything. And in the meantime, what you're going to see, and this is what we're encouraging all of our sellers to do, right, is sellers, do a home inspection of your home. Get it done. If a buyer sends me 5 houses to go look at, and I'm doing back end research, and I see a full home inspection report that I can send to them and say, hey, here's what we're getting ourselves into. For one, that my buyers just may say no. So then that means they're not going to look at your home, which that means they don't waste your time getting you out anyways. And if they do want to look at it, that means they're very, very interested. They know what they're getting themselves into. There's even a chance, now I'm not going to encourage them to do this, but there's even a chance they may not want to do another inspection at all. And they may say, great, I'm waiving inspection. Boom, that costs you $500. I can tell you right now, I would write checks for $500-600 to everybody that was willing to waive inspections as far as to get a deal go through. It is worth it as a seller. I've done it I've done 3 flip homes in my career. I've done it on all my flip homes, full inspection report, provided it, no fall throughs. Fall throughs are happening at about a 30 to 40% rate, crazy amount of fall throughs right now. And I would say the main reason is because of inspections. Do this, sellers, oh my gosh. But I do think, if you had, as a seller, you've had 2 or 3 fall throughs, right? I've had sellers 2 or 3 fall throughs. Hey guys, these are issues, right? You got mold in your crawl space and standing water. Like, we got to get this fixed, or you're gonna have to give them $8,000 to $12,000 of credits and let them fix it. No, I bought it. It was fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you bought it in 21 and had to waive all this and pay $30,000 more. It is a different market. So I'm just here to educate people on what the market's doing. If it was not, if it was a seller's market, I'd probably be sitting here and saying, hey, buyers, you want to buy a house? Guess what? You're going to have to pay your agent fees now, because the seller's not going to pay your agent fees. Different conversation based on that. At one point, we're probably going to get to that in the next couple of years as the market's going to kind of change and everything. But as of right now, sellers are still paying buyers' agent commissions. Sellers are paying closing costs. Sellers are doing repairs if you want to sell your home. If you want to list it, that's fine. You can list it, but you're probably not selling it unless you're ready to do these things. That is the reality of the situation. So that's kind of my opinion on what's going to happen with inventory. I'm going to say I'm 65-70% confident in that. At least here in East Tennessee. It'll be interesting what kind of happens nationally. Is if, like, your hot markets, which is so weird to even say this, like, your hot market is actually the Northeast. The Northeast has very little inventory and is considered like a hot market right now, whereas the South, almost across the board, all these southern states that were booming during COVID are all very high inventory and consider basically buyers markets. And it's just kind of like trying to make it make sense on paper. More people still want to move south than they do north, but it's just this supply demand and simple economics is what's caused the situation. So if y'all ever have questions, as always, holler anytime. Happy to help.